You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Hockey moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me today, it's Matt Cannon. Guys, welcome back to the show. We're in the middle of the offseason, but we've had a lot of things go down since our last episode. Matt, we had free agency, we had the draft, we had a big retirement announcement that we'll get to here momentarily. There is a lot to talk about in the world of Lightning hockey. But first and foremost, Matt, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm well. I'm glad to be back. It's been a hot minute for us both, really. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for me, but everything's in the past now. Everything's over and done with, and I'm glad that we have a lot to talk about. Like, we're not really just kind of fishing for news here, whatever we can get. We've got a lot to talk about, Jake. So how are you, my friend? What?
I am doing good, Matt. I'm ready to talk about some more Lightning hockey. It's been too long, as you said, but it's interesting, right? Because there's a lot of big events that happen: the draft, the free agency, the retirement. There's a lot of things that have happened, but I don't feel like there's been any major news, and we'll kind of get into that when you look at it's like a lot of little things that the Lightning have done. Now, how do we feel about all those things? Is it going to help the Lightning in the future? Those are some of the things that we're going to get into this week. So a lot to get to. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in with us live here. Don't forget, drop your comments down below. We already appreciate Beverly popping in already. Missed you guys last week. We missed you too, Beverly. So don't forget, throw your comments down below. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. You can follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning, so you don't miss out when we do go live for these videos. With that said, let's jump right into it, Matt, I say. And let's start with the big news, the most relevant news right now, and that is the retirement of Lightning legend. And yes, I think legend is the appropriate word here in forward. Tyler Johnson announcing his retirement from hockey. Man, Matt, so many memories when it comes back to Tyler Johnson, and sad to see him walking away from the game.
Yeah, it's sad. His time has come. He's older than we all really think, but honestly, one of the best undrafted players in the NHL, maybe ever. Like, definitely a top 5, top 10 undrafted player ever, you could argue. Such a beloved, fan favorite player here. Just the memories that he brought, even in some of the minor moments. He was such a lovable guy. He was my first favorite player when I started following the team. Like, it sucked to see him go. Did have a little bit of a hefty contract towards the end. He was a cap casualty. But yeah, again, just what a career, what a great underdog story. Part of one of the best lines in hockey of all time, one of the best names for a line in hockey, the triplets line. Yeah, man. I mean, congratulations to him. Hopefully he can ride that wakeboard into the sunset.
Anytime you can leave the game as a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, that's something pretty special. One of my moments that I think of when I think of Tyler Johnson is, of course, his playoff goal against the Montreal Canadiens. It was with 0.23 seconds left, something like that. It was something absolutely ridiculous, and I will never forget that goal and watching that game and thinking, all right, we're going to overtime. Let's get ready. And even that rush, I don't know if you remember, Matt, but when they were coming into the zone, like, you're thinking, okay, they're going to maybe something might a little high, but you're not expecting, you're not sitting there going, oh, they're going to score here. It just seems like an innocent rush. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Johnson out of nowhere, standing in front of the net, taps that home to score that goal. And they reviewed it for a while. Did it go in? And then you saw that one shot where there's 0.2 seconds left on the clock. And then the bench shots, which, by the way, I love when the NHL does that. I think they're one of the few sports that does a really good job at showing the bench reactions on those playoff goals, and they are so good. That is by far one of my favorite Tyler Johnson moments.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best moments in Lightning history. Not even just specific to Tyler Johnson. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. I was he was the perpetrator of the first hat trick I ever got to watch live. It was an amazing feeling. Every single play, every goal he made, like during his prime with the Lightning, was the most electric. Like nothing he ever did was understated or anything. Like he he didn't like overtake the game or anything, but every time he did touch the puck or, put the puck in the back of the net, like he was a goal scorer. He was a good playmaker, but he was a goal scorer, clutch, and just everything he did was just such a huge, huge moment. It seemed he always showed up at those big stages. Who could ever forget that 2015 run? It's a shame he kind of got injured towards the end of it. I think with a healthy Tyler Johnson, we had this debate, healthy Tyler Johnson versus healthy Ben Bishop in the 2015 finals. Man, we'd have 4 cups to this team.
Healthy both. Those two players were pivotal in those runs. And you're right. I remember watching that series in the finals and saying, Johnson just doesn't look like himself. You could tell something was off, and we were right. He had a broken hand. It's very hard to take face-offs when you have a broken hand, and that's kind of what he did. That's a big reason why that triplets line worked so well, I think, too, Matt, is you had Nikita Kucherov, the star, high IQ, high-octane type of player, right? Great playmaker. Then you got Alex Killorn, who's kind of a bigger presence, wasn't the best skater, but he could shoot really well and he could throw you around a little bit. And then you had Tyler Johnson, the speedster, the guy that could get to the puck and fly up and down the ice. You had the 3 different types of hockey players all mixed into one line. Man, actually, you know what? I'm going to look it up. How good was that line in 20? I remember the numbers were quite ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure that line might have been together for once, but I think you got it mixed up. It was Andre Palat, not Alex Killorn.
Yes, you're right. I am totally.
Similar players at the end of the day. One number apart, too.
Where did I think Killorn was into that mix? But you're right. My apologies. Yes, Andre Palat was on that line. But still, point still stands. A lot more of a tougher type of player.
And I don't know if this is just, bias or whatever. I always love the way it's such a niche thing to really love about any hockey player, but just the way he took face-offs. I always considered him a really good center, a really good face-off man, but he would get so low to the puck. Of course, that, little frame of his, he could get so close down to the ice, and it seemed like he always was, drawing it back. He was a really good center, in my opinion, but I just loved how just close, low center of gravity he would get to the puck on the face-offs. Such a niche thing to really love about a player.
So looking at his stats here, it's actually hilarious. So his first year, 14 games played, just 6 points, didn't play a ton. Second year, 50 points, was a plus 23. Third year, that 2014-2015 a year, 72 points.
Shoot.
Just an unbelievable difference. And then the next year, 38, 45, 50, and never got anywhere close. That year, he had 72 points, 29 goals, 43 assists for 72 points. It was a plus 33. Man,
Dang.
I'm going to have to go and look at Triplets line highlights tonight. It was so incredibly good. Man, what a core memory, a lot there to go back and look. But yeah, he was such a huge part of that line, and we thank him for all his time here as a member of Bulls Nation.
So he's definitely borderline, or no, he's not going to get the number retired. And of course, great player, but that's for the GOATs. Do you think he makes it on the Hall of the Wall of Fame or whatever, Ring of Honor?
I think he should.
Yeah, it would take some time, but I think he's got a healthy case for him.
Yes, and that's the point, right? Like how long does it take for him to get there? I don't know. There's a lot of deserving people that can go in right now.
Yeah.
Like Ben Bishop is one of those guys. So, but I do think he has to go in at some point. Anybody who was a part of the 2-time, that 3-cup run, Johnson was a big part of that. You have to put him in there. So
yeah, Cedric Paquette.
Well, okay, you're twisting my words here a little bit, Matt. I don't appreciate.
I know what you mean.
But yes, I'm with you that I think Tyler Johnson should go. Let us know in the comments down below. Do you think Tyler Johnson is a Lightning Hall of Fame member? And what is your favorite moment from Tyler Johnson's career? Because there's a lot to pick from. But congratulations, Tyler Johnson, on his retirement. Good luck to whatever he did. Hey, maybe he'll start working something with the Lightning. There's a lot of Lightning players who retire and come back down to Tampa Bay and start working with the team again. So maybe we will see Tyler Johnson in the near future.
Maybe he'll be the future coach of the Montreal Canadiens, a short frame, undrafted guy that made his career playing for the Lightning. Maybe.
Speaking of that, Matt, well, this is kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but there was a signing in free agency that we'll get to a little bit later. But the Lightning basically signed a young forward, not undrafted. He was drafted, but played for the Flames, not proven, a lot like Marty St. Louis.
Ooh, Jake, stop.
I think it was Elliot Friedman that tweeted this out too, and was like, the replies were great. Like, they can't keep getting away with this. Saying, exactly that. Like, are they really doing it again? We'll get to that more in free agency here in just a moment. But first, Matt, I think we should talk about the draft for the Bolts.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not big on the ticket list item, just because the Lightning do not have any first-round picks, as we all know. They traded all those first-round picks to get all those great players that helped the Lightning go on these cup runs as they have in the last couple of years, and that is the price you pay. They made their selections. They made one or two trades. I think they did trade up for one spot to grab an extra player, but at the end of the day, they do draft, I think it was 5 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goaltender. Nothing crazy jumps off the page. And Matt, I don't know about you, but I really hate – I know – you're trying to make content and people give these draft class grades and stuff like that, but you really don't know what these guys are going to look like until 3 or 4 years and what they do with their development. And I don't want it to sound like a cop-out answer, but it's too early to say anything. I can't tell you much about this draft class. I really can't.
I can't either. I was hoping you'd come in with a little bit more, but I mean, I think we're in the majority of people. Like, we've been so spoiled for so long as the Lightning. The entire time I've been a fan of the Lightning, I've never cared about watching the draft. I've never been at the edge of my seat. Who are we going to pick? Because it's always been, at the very best, a late first-round pick is in my career watching.
Yeah.
And there's only been 2 of them, and one doesn't want to play here, and one is Cal Foot, and that's a different thing. So, yeah, it's hard for me to get invested in the draft. I'm not a huge prospect guy. Like, of course, I followed Isaac Howard for a bit, but it seems like he doesn't want to be here. It's not something I put a whole lot of stock into because, again, at the end of the day, it is magic beans. There's 7 rounds. What do we have? 5 picks no? We acquired some more picks this draft, but still,
we picked quite a bit, and the Lightning tend to do that because it's kind of a dart throw. Sometimes you have to make a couple extra picks to make sure 1 or 2 of them pan out. But listen, the Lightning are really good when it comes to their late draft round picks. Andre Palat, Nikita Kucherov, they're a really long list of all those great players. But I say this again because a lot of times, you could go back and look at the draft Lightning got Andre Palat in, and people may have said, F pick, this guy's not going to turn anything. You just don't know. You just truly don't know. You cannot judge these players. And a lot of the times in those late picks too, there's just not a lot of information to go off of. So I don't jump. The only guys that you can kind of really focus on and talk about more is the early first round picks, which the Lightning, just as you said, do not have. So there's really nothing to go off. In 3 years, we can come back and talk about this. See what they've been doing in the AHL and see what they've been doing in their first couple NHL games. That's when you can really focus on the drafts. Yeah,
I can't wait for the 203rd pick of that we got to turn into, a 50-point, forechecking winger or something like that. Like, that'd be great. But at the moment, like, you got to be patient. It's easy for us to be patient. I get, with some of the teams that pick really high in the draft, it's hard. But I think we're in a favorable scenario, F them picks, we're winning, we're in win now mode still. We're in win now mode. So it's fine to okay, these are the guys we got. Let them cook in the oven for a bit. If they turn into something great, but again, magic beans, dart throws, like you said.
Exactly. Matt, it is funny. You said 203. We picked at 206 this year.
Oh, really?
And it's a Russian forward. We all know our Russian forwards. Mm-hmm. So, hey, maybe you were onto something there. By the way, that pick was Roman Lustev, and I apologize if I butcher any of these names. Listen, we got to learn all the new guys' names as part of the offseason process. We'll get there eventually, but maybe that's a name to keep your eye on because you said 203. 206.
Yeah, 206.
In the 7th round. By the way, Lightning made 4 7th-round picks this year.
The mid was, sorry.
They made 4 7th-round picks this year.
We love our 7th-round pick. They're trying to find an Andre Palat or Henrik Zetterberg or Pavel Datsyuk somewhere.
They are. Pavelski. They really are. Hey, you never know. You just never know. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to more of the bigger conversation here, which comes from free agency for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the first, they made a couple of moves, just minor moves, re-signing crunch guys that are going to go to the HL team. But the biggest one that came out and we've been waiting for a long time, Matt, of course, is Gage Gonsalves, who signed a contract extension with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It is a 2-year deal, $2.4 million contract, $1.2 million of an average annual salary. Matt, I love this contract. It's a short 2 years, but at $1.2 million for a forward that played as well as he did last season was a big help for the Lightning that needs some depth, really solid. I'm not talking like fourth line depth. I'm talking like really solid depth to round out that bottom six. This is a great deal.
Absolutely. I think, a month or two ago when we were speculating what could this next deal be, I was like, give him, $3 million a year, give him a 3x3. And you guys looked at me crazy. And, looking back on it, that was definitely a little crazy. But man, this deal, I mean, for what I was okay giving him, and that's why I'm not a GM, and to get it for $2.8 million a year cheaper than what I said, oh, absolutely. Or not 2.8, but to get it so much cheaper than what I said, it's awesome. It's a great deal of business. I'd like to maybe get a third year. It is a bridge deal for him. We'll still have RFA rights, I'm sure, at the end of this deal, because he's 24 or 25 now. But again, with the way that he blossomed at in the back half of his season, it's such a sweet deal. Hopefully by the end of it, he's commanding a much higher price because that means he is blossoming into a way better and better player. So I think, maybe not the sky's the moon or the sky's the limit for this guy, but he is turning into, again, I talk about him so highly for being, third line, point every 3 game kind of guy. And even that's a little generous for him. But I think this contract will turn into something good. And you know what? If he falls off, it's a variable contract, but I just don't see that happening. I was super impressed with his game last year. So, no, I think it's a great, great deal.
I'm right there with you. And listen, the Lightning need cheap contracts right now because even with the cap finally jumping up this year, which did help us a lot, and it taking a big jump next year, we're still up against the caps we've been for a while. I keep thinking about this and just the way that things have worked out for the Lightning versus the Florida Panthers, who both went on very similar trajectories with their runs. Like, Lightning went on their 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, built this great team, but then got massacred by a flat cap. And then the Florida Panthers, who went on this great run, built this great team, but have actually been able to keep some of their players because they've had, now granted, credit where credit is due, Bill Zito, right?
Yeah.
Bill Zito, GM for the Panthers. He's done a great job and gotten great contracts for those guys. But just looking at how different these teams are because of the way the cap worked out, and the Lightning are still fighting it, which is a little bit tough. But this contract is a big help for stuff like that, especially if Gage can take that next step going forward. And I do think he will, because things can go wrong. And you look at one of the players that did leave the Lightning and is now with the Nashville Predators in Nick Perbix. So Nick Perbix officially no longer with the Lightning, where scoring goals is no longer a pleasure. That's going to be in Nashville now as he joins the Predators, and former teammate Steven Stamkos with him and over there in Nashville. So Matt, how are you feeling about Perbix heading over to Nashville?
I'm going to try to keep it relatively contained. Again, I liked Perbix. He had a really strong, rookie season with the Lightning, but it was a bit of a steep fall off. Like it kind of took a lot for me to put Darren Radish over him in the pecking order, and it happened rather quickly. Again, thank you for your service here, but at the same time, good riddance. Enjoy him, Nashville. I am, really proud to say that I was in attendance for a Nick Perbix overtime winner. I don't know how many people can say they got to see that, but no, again, best of luck to you, Nashville. Hopefully things turn around for you there. But again, he was part of the problem here on the back end. So I guess he's Tennessee's problem now.
He was a player that had really great potential. And we, early on, like when he came up from the crunch, it was like, hey, this is a really nice defender, cheap contract. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out the right way, and the Lightning decided to move on from him. So wish him the best of luck.
You remember when he it was like one of the first couple games he played, and he flattened Matt Tkachuk,
yes,
and then just decided to never lay the body ever again. He was so tantalizing that first year. Signed him to what at the time looked like a pretty decent deal given his trajectory, and then
kind of fell off a little bit. Absolutely. And that's the one thing we say with Gage Gonsalves and how high we're praising him. Like, listen, it could happen. I'm with you, Matt. We don't think that's going to happen with him. it's a similar situation from Nick Perbix. But you're right. He looked like such a great player, and unfortunately just didn't work out. Sometimes that happens with guys in certain places. So
Mm-hmm.
the Lightning are going to have to replace him, by the way. And we'll get to this more at the end of the show. In the Lightning defensive situation, technically they have 6 forwards or 6 defensemen they can roll with. Usually you like to carry 1 extra defenseman in case of injuries. And there is a couple of guys they could call up. But I still wonder if they go after another defenseman somewhere. I mean, I think Max Crozier is still in the AHL, and they did re-sign him. I guess he'd be the guy you kind of call on, but as of right now, Nick Perbix has not been replaced with any other defenseman because the Lightning went much more heavy on the forward market in free agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do because, again, it does look pretty, dry on the back end there. But I don't know. I mean, Michael speaks so highly of Max Crozier. Hopefully he can develop into, at least a serviceable NHL defenseman. Again, I liked what I saw. Michael loved what he saw from him in the limited role that he did get. So I wonder if there's a trade to be made because it seems like the free agent market has really dried up. I don't know if I want to be signing guys to PTOs, towards the start of the season if they still don't have contracts. Like if you weren't signed, by July 7th, what today is, are you really that valuable of a player? Or I don't know. There could be a trade in the works. There could be maybe an Isaac Howard trade. If Matthew Darsh wants to give us Matthew Schaefer for Isaac Howard, I'd take that deal all the time.
Let's talk about that Isaac Howard situation though, because it's actually very interesting, and we did get some more insight on it from some of the reporters during this free agency period. Because JB was asked about it, as we all know that situation is coming to an end very quickly here. We're wondering when that move is going to be made. We thought maybe during the draft. But what it sounds like, according to reports right now, is that JBB has tried to make a deal already. And basically what is happening, and this just further proves that Isaac Howard is the problem. It's not the Lightning. And I hate saying that about a young kid who's got a bright future. But the JBB basically came out and said, like, listen, the teams that we think we can make a decent deal with and it's not a great situation to lose a player like that, but at least get a decent return for. Isaac Howard can't come to agreement with a contract with those guys either. So it's not just the Lightning. He is struggling to make a deal with these contracts with other teams. And then the teams that he does think he can get a deal done with contract-wise, the Lightning don't think they can get enough for him. So there's this really weird middle ground right now. But I just go back to Matt, what is Isaac Howard thinking right now? Like, I hope that you think you are the best player in the – we just talked about 2 players that looked like they were going to be great NHL players. Perbix didn't really turn out to work great for the Lightning, and that happens so many times to guys. Why does he think he's deserving of this immediate number 1 forward spot? It just – and we saw it play out with Jonathan Drouin and how that happened in how it didn't work out. And Drouin is coming back and playing some good hockey right now, but his career is a whole different turn. So I just don't get it with Isaac Howard and what his thought process is.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like, he's a Wisconsin boy. I don't know if he's got any allegiance to any NHL team. Like, I know the Minnesota Wild's kind of close by. I don't know if he's a fan of any Canadian teams and he just wants to play for, his air quote hometown team or the team he, cheered for growing up. Because in my opinion, especially now in today's NHL climate too, everyone wants to talk about the no state tax situation. Why wouldn't you want to play in Florida? Not even just Tampa, Florida or Dallas or Vegas or Seattle or wherever, you have these tax benefits. Like, you're not going to be making a whole lot on your ELC, but still, like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to. Again, we just mentioned Perbix and maybe Lilleberg might be following the same trajectory as him, good first year and then just kind of tail off a bit. But how many success stories are there here? Again, we were just talking about Tyler Johnson, undrafted, and he turns into, an all-time member of the Lightning. Like, he will be on that, wall of fame in a couple years. Like, how many of these success stories do we have? A ton. Unless he can really carve a legacy out in whichever team he does want to go to. I'm glad it is behind closed doors. Like, there isn't like any speculation of where he does want to go. I'm glad that is tight-lipped because then you lose a lot of your leverage. But I'm really curious of like where he wants to go or what teams.
There's clearly a spot that he's got in mind.
Yeah.
Because this would have been done.
I really want to know, but at the same time, good that it's kind of behind closed doors because you don't lose all your leverage. But again, hearing that, what you're saying, what JBB said is still pretty indicting. Like, you've tried to make deals and he's being stubborn with the teams that, you're shopping him around to.
Lightning. He wants the spotlight, and that's what it comes down to. And what happened to you earn your spot on this team? Like he's not Connor McDavid. You're not going to just get top 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, why would you not want to play here? I would kill to play on the fourth line of the Philadelphia Flyers right now and work my way up. Like, I'd
kill to play on the fourth line of a beer league team.
Right. And he's a great player with a lot of great talent, and there's so many great players he can learn from and become. Listen, there's an open spot on the top 6 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They could absolutely use a guy like him to work his way up, but for whatever reason, he just doesn't want to play here. And I don't get it. But again, the one thing that does make me feel a little bit better is that clearly this is not just a Tampa issue. This is a multiple team thing. There are multiple teams, according to JBB, that he has tried to make a deal with, and they can't sign him to a contract. So I don't know what it is with Isaac Howard and what these contracts like. I don't know if it's like he's expecting more money or if it's the playing. I don't know. We don't know. But clearly something's going on. But maybe one day we will finally be able to figure out what this was all about and put it behind us and get something in return for him. But,
yeah, I mean, again, how many of these players that are notorious for their attitude issues, they don't have a long shelf life in the league. I get like Drew, and he had a really hard drop off, and he had to deal with some personal stuff as well. He's finally starting to really re-cement himself and actually carve out a good legacy for him. But still, these players that have these, I can't say attitude issues either, but just need to have the spotlight, if that's what it is. I mean, there were red flags from day one. The draft outfit, I'm the best looking guy here, so I got to dress the best, this and that. Like, you're in the wrong league, man, if that's how you're going to act. Again, it was kind of funny at the time because I'm wearing my blue tinted glasses, my Bolts blue tinted glasses, but now, given the situation, of course, I'm biased against him, but still, come on, dude. Like, you have to earn it. Again, I harken back to Adam Fox, who cried his way out of Carolina because he didn't want to play for Carolina. And then he got traded to Calgary, cried his way out of Calgary because he said, I only want to play for the New York Rangers, not another team, not any other team. And I hate when rookies do that. It's one thing if you're Patrick Kane coming from Chicago. You are Patrick Kane. You're the greatest American player ever. And, you've earned your no movement clause, your no trade clause, and you can say, I want to play for this one team. You've earned that. Same thing with Brad Marchand going to Florida. I want to play for the Florida Panthers. That's the only place I'll go. God, I hate that trade still, but here we are. You have to earn it. Again, it's not the NBA. It's not the NFL. I don't know if that happens in the MLB, but it's not a drama queen league, and he's really turning into a bit of a prima donna the more and more I learn about this. I'm sorry if I'm, a little too harsh on a kid, but at the same time,
I think you're right.
Just a couple of years younger than me, so I think I can consider him a peer.
I think you're absolutely right. But you know what's not a red flag, Matt?
What, Jake?
When you see people wearing merch from shop.rblrsports.com, and you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. Highly recommend you guys do go check out the awesome merchandise we have over there for you guys, inspired by all the great Tampa Bay sports teams, the Lightning, the Rays, the Bucks, the Rowdies, the Sun, you name it, we got it. Links, as always, are in the description, and don't forget to use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order as well. So, all right, let's roll on with free agency here, Matt. There were a lot of minor signings, guys that were signed to the crunch, like the goaltender Ryan Fanti, who was re-signed. You had Tristan Allard, who was re-signed. Even ones like, and I'm still learning his name here, so I apologize. Stick with me here. Nick Abruzzese, I think it is. Abruzzese, thank you. From Toronto.
There's a couple different ways to pronounce, but that's the most common way I've heard.
We're going to get there. We're going to learn how to pronounce them. But yeah, from Toronto. He's probably an AHL guy and maybe will pop up at times. I don't think he'll really turn anything. The biggest one that we can be talking about here, Matt, quickly is from Toronto again, is Pontus Holmberg. The Lightning signed to a 2-year, $3.1 million contract, $1.55 million average annual salary. And looking at his stats, I mean, they're not bad. He's played 3 years with Toronto. In those 3 years, he had 13, 17, and 19 points respectively. He has never been a minus player in his career, and that's the big thing for JBB right now is 5-on-5 guys. He's another guy that kind of fits that role. Is he going to move the needle for the Lightning? I don't know about that, but he's a fourth line 5-on-5 guy.
Yeah, he's a warm body that knows how to play the NHL game. I wouldn't expect anything out of him. I wouldn't make any bold Connor Sherry 60-point predictions or whatever you said a couple of years ago, Jake. And that's also, we got to talk about that in a bit. But from what I've learned, I am unfortunately really in touch with the Toronto Maple Leafs because a lot of the hockey news I get is Toronto centric. And, nobody was ever, his game was never flashy or anything. He's not much of a goal scorer, not much of a playmaker, but again, a warm body that knows how to play the NHL game and play it responsibly. From what I hear a lot is he moves his feet and he draws a lot of penalties too, which I'll take every day of the week. If you can draw penalties, that's cool. I love that. So, again, you're not going to be overwhelmed with his skill or anything. Again, I think he's just a bit of a warm body, someone to plug that hole on the fourth line. I wouldn't expect him to play any further up the lineup. Cheap deal, 1.55 for 2 years. I got no complaints about it. Again, you lose Glendening and Cam Atkinson. Again, he's just a younger, warmer body. So I'm happy with it. Again, it's just a pretty okay deal.
Yeah, and it could work out. It could turn into something like any of these deals can, like when they swung for the fences on the Connor Sherry deal, which, by the way, his contract officially terminated. He was sent down to the HL to terminate that contract, so Sherry is gone. His contract is off the books. That's just one of those. Listen, you can't hit every one out of the park, and it just didn't unfortunately work out for Sherry here in Tampa Bay. As much as I wanted it to, it did not work out, and he's officially no longer a member of the Bolts. But Matt, so you said it right. It's those replacement guys, some of the guys that we lost before, and I even look at like a Gergensen type of deal. And this is my biggest worry with this free agent class the Lightning are doing. And I get it. We do not have a lot of cap space, and there's a lot of guys that we kind of need to sign to fill that bottom six out. But what are these guys going to do? Are they really going to move the needle? Maybe one or two of them turns into something decent, but I don't know. I just wish I would have seen them go after a little bit more aggressive and take a bigger risk. I look at, and again, the money doesn't really work as much with this, but who was remind me his name, Matt, the guy from Edmonton who signed, I'm going to have to look it up because I can't.
Arvidsson.
I'm going to figure it out while I'm looking, but I just worry that
I'll vamp while you look it up.
Do it.
So I'm not overly upset with how this free agency was treated at all. There weren't really any names that I was too interested in picking up that were available, especially, the cap did rise, but some players got raises and, we've got some hefty contracts on the books, but still, we are a bit crushed by the cap, even still with it rising. There was nobody I would love to have handed out some of these contracts to. So I don't mind. There's way, way, way better players next year and the year after. As you've noticed, a couple 2-year deals being signed. And in 2 years, Nikita Kucherov is up too. So
cap jumps like 10 mil next year, by the way. There's a huge jump next year.
So I think that's a bit of the planning. I don't know who expires next year off the top of my head. If we've got a big contract coming off or anything.
They're pretty minimal compared to like Kucherov coming off in 2 years. So
yeah.
If you look at the Lightning's contract situation, this year and next year are still their best chances with this big core. Now I expect them to re-sign Nikita Kucherov, obviously, but these next 2 years are the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple little ones that they're going to have to do, but it's nothing major.
Yeah, I don't know if Julian is playing chess, not checkers, and planning years into the future, or maybe just 1 year into the future. I mean, Connor McDavid is a free agent next year. Next year he's a free agent.
A lot of talk about him right now.
Still such major speculation, mostly jokes with us. But I'm still sad. I missed that episode. I wish I could have speculated with you guys. I'm sad I missed it, even though
I'm glad you were jumping in the in the chat in there during that. Also, this is driving me nuts. I cannot find the forward that I'm thinking of that was a former Oilers forward and signed. I forget who he signed with.
Was he with the Oilers this past year?
Yes, he's got a full beard. He signed for like $3 million, I think it was.
Corey Perry,
No, it wasn't Corey. Which, by the way,
Victor Arvidsson.
if you're a betting person, maybe the Kings to win the Western Cup. Are they going to the Cup Finals this year? Since they
made some awful moves. I don't know. I mean, I guess they have punched their ticket to the Stanley Cup Final, but I just don't see how that's going to happen.
Right?
They made some tough moves. Again, you never win the cup in free agency. I can't point out a team that has in recent memory, so I'm glad they didn't swing for the fences this year. You plugged some holes. Who knows what this upcoming season is going to be? There still probably is at least one trade in the works. I can't imagine this is the lineup we're going into next season with. At least, it might be 95% complete. But again, there was just nobody. There was nothing that really stuck out to me. I really want to know who you're thinking of, Jake.
I think I got it. It was Connor Brown. Yes.
Connor Brown. Oh, God.
Connor Brown. He signed with the Devils. I believe it was like $3 million. Was the average?
Yeah, I think it was like a 4x3 or something like that.
Yes, Connor Brown. And it's a little because the Lightning, I believe, going into free agency had about a little close to $5 million. So obviously $3 million takes up a lot, and that kind of limits you there. And again, I get it. Like all the contracts Lightning signed were about 1.5 or less. So that's a bigger swing. But I would kind of liked a Connor Brown with Tampa. I think he could have fit in pretty nicely. So that's who I was thinking of.
And there is one thing that I still do think we're lacking, and I was sad with the team that he signed with. The team's going to be sad in a couple of years, but the Tanner Jeannot contract is rough. Like, yeah, I know you can make fun of us for what we gave up for him, but man, Boston just really handcuffed themselves with that contract. Again, great player. I love Tanner Jeannot. I'm sad that he's not with the team. I'm sad we traded him. I don't think his contract is all that bad.
Get your bag, man. I mean, go for it. Listen, and maybe he comes out and starts playing really well again. But I'm with you. Like that contract. That contract surprised me. It was kind of like that's a lot for a guy who's still unproven right now.
Yeah.
So interesting. But yeah, the Brown was the one guy I was thinking of from the Oilers. I would have liked to see the Lightning grab. He would have been a nice one. But again, I know the contract's a little high, but that's. Let me know in the comments down below. Would you have liked to see a guy like Brown get signed by the Bolts? Couple other minor ones for the Lightning. We have a forward that was brought back, Matt, in Boris Tkachuk. He is back with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Signed a short little deal, 1 year, 2-way contract. Probably plays in the AHL again. Never really turned into anything when he left the Lightning. Even with the Bolts, never really got a ton of playing time. It wasn't anything crazy, but nice to see a guy come back as always. Clearly, the Lightning still believe him in a little bit. You never know.
Yeah. So, now the only thing that the Chicago Blackhawks have from the Brandon Hagel trade is Oliver Moore. That's the only thing that they have left in that trade. He was a first-round pick. It was a mid-first-round pick that we gave to them. So not preying on the kid's downfall or anything, but man, this trade is starting to look like a steal for us.
Even if the contract, even if a kid does turn into something like it's still a win.
Yeah, what are the odds he turns into a Brandon Hagel? Pretty low.
Yeah. Oh, man, that trade was so good. We could do a whole entire episode on that. I mean, that was such
I'd listen to me making, Boris Tkachuk coming back about Brandon Hagel. But, welcome back again. You'll probably be in the AHL. If you couldn't really crack that Chicago lineup for the last couple of years, I don't see how you're going to crack this one. So
the Lightning did sign a defenseman in Simon Lundmark from the Jets AHL squad. Again, guy's going to play with the Syracuse Crunch. We'll see if he turns into anything. Nothing really crazy there. The big one, Matt, that I think we should talk about, and this is the one I kind of alluded to earlier when it comes to that he is a player from Calgary. And undersized, unproven, didn't work out for them. And that is Jacob, and help me out here, Matt.
Peltier.
Jacob Peltier, who was last with the Philadelphia Flyers, before with Calgary. Lightning again signed him to a cheap deal, and this is a guy I'm kind of interested in, Matt. He's got some decent stats, and he's a former first-round pick, and I think he's got some potential and could turn into something.
He could. Again, he's not exactly a spring chicken. He's not too young, but what is he, 24? So It's a low risk, high reward move. He's on a 2-way deal that I think turns into a 1-way in like the final year.
Correct.
Something kind of
His
strange.
contract's weird.
Yeah, it is a weird contract, but again, I think it's a solid move. Again, he has room to grow. There's an open spot on the roster. It depends, where or if Cooper JBB wants to put him on there. Of course, we got to go through training camp and preseason and all that. I don't think he'll be, cracking the lineup opening night. At least it's a long shot, but again, low risk, high reward move. He showed flashes of potential in Calgary. Daryl Sutter, notoriously low offense, low skill kind of coach who likes to stifle offense a lot. And then his next coach was John Tortorella, kind of a carbon copy, old school, stifling offense kind of coach, defense first kind of guy.
And he dealt with some injuries too during that time.
Yeah, dealt with some injuries as well. So, we all know the system that Cooper employs. Like, you're not, free to do whatever you want, but the offense flies a little bit more. So, I think, if there is a chance, he might have a bit of a Gage Gonsalves situation. Injury happens, get your way into the lineup, and if you impress, cool, you might have a chance to stay. So, I think, I don't think he's turning into 70, 80 point kind of guy, but man, if you can be a solid third liner, shoot for the stars, second line or something, that would be great. Great. So again, low risk, high reward move.
This is the kind of signing I like. This is the one addition that was not a re-signing that I think I'm most excited about. The Lightning made this free agency. By the way, the contract it's an AAV of $841K, which is already a really weird number. Yeah. Normally, it's like pretty even when it comes to that. It is a 2-way deal the first year, so I would expect him to play for the Crunch in year one, $775K. Then the second season and third season, they are both 1-way contracts. It's $850 and then $900K. So the Lightning obviously are hoping that he's going to play for the Crunch a little bit, maybe jump up to the NHL if he really impresses some people, but get better, work his way up to the Lightning lineup and be able to make an impact. So somebody to definitely keep your eye on right now for the Lightning who could make a big impact. And who knows, maybe he's the next Marty St. Louis.
That'd be great. I was excited about this move even before you brought up that comparison, Jake, or before Elliot, brought up that comparison. Again, the way that they did structure this contract, the 2-way for the first year and then 1-way for the next 2 years, that means they see something. There's promise with them. They see him being part of the lineup in the future and maybe even now. So, or this coming season. So again, wow, it's crazy that an unproven rookie is our white whale of the offseason.
That's the way it's been the last couple of years with when you just don't have a lot of money to make moves. And I say that because, again, just like last year, the Lightning were rumored to be in on a very big fish, and people got excited, and understandably so. And, of course, I'm talking about Nicholas Ehlers, former Winnipeg Jets forward, who there was a lot of conversation that he was a potential landing spot for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I remember seeing this, Matt, and I sat there the whole time and I said, there's just no way. Yeah. How do we make that happen? We don't have the money for him unless he takes a ridiculous pay cut or we are trading somebody out of our top 6. And I would have loved Ehlers. That would have been a fantastic grab. Obviously, he does not sign with the Bolts. He ends up going to the Carolina. Hurricanes $8.5 million contract. Obviously, we cannot afford that. But this is not the first time the Lightning have been on rumored to be on a big fish. And the reports are, by the way, is that JBB really did want to make that happen, but couldn't get it done. And that's the tough spot the Lightning are in right now, is that there are some moves. I think JBB understands that there's one big piece the Lightning are missing, that extra top 6 guy, but they can't do it. They are stuck in a cap mess, and there's not much they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the contract's a little rich.
It is. 8.5 is a lot.
It's fine for Carolina. They've actually got a pretty sweet situation right now. So it's perfect for them. For the Lightning, a completely different situation. I think Carolina, I wonder if this is the first time 2 Danish players have ever been on the same team, because they got Freddie Anderson and now Nikolai Ehlers. We could have had Oliver Bjorkstrand and Nikolai Ehlers. But no, obviously it didn't happen. I'm bummed it didn't happen. But again, at that price, oh well. So
I never believed it was going to happen. Even when I saw the heaviest of rumors, I'm like, there's just no way. But it was interesting to me that we kept popping up in these rumors, and I'm sitting there going, like, how is this going to happen? I don't know.
I believed McDavid to Tampa more than I believed Ehlers to Tampa.
That's a great statement right there. Yeah. So unfortunately, Lightning don't get that big fish, but that's kind of been the theme for the Bolts. So Matt, let me ask you and our viewers this question. And let us know. Drop us down in the comments below. What is your grade? And I know again it's tough to grade free agencies. You got to see how players pan out. There wasn't a ton of movement, but what is your grade for the Lightning's free agency here? We ran a poll on the Bolt Reports page, and with 269 votes. The overwhelming majority voted for B, about 50.6%, giving us a B grade in free agency. Matt, let's start with you here. What's your take? What's your grade for the Bolts?
I'll go C plus even. Again, you didn't swing for the fences. The richest contract you signed was $1.55 million. You didn't do anything bad. You didn't do anything good. None of these contracts will be anchors or anything. Nothing you did will be, will hurt you. Nothing you did will exactly help you or improve you, I don't think, unless, a miracle happens, unless Jacob Peltier turns into the next Marty or something like that. Again, I think it was just a very average, slightly above average, which, again, don't take C as a bad answer or anything. I think, B and A is reserved for you got somebody that's going to help you immediately type of deal. I think we just got some hole pluggers. So I'll go C plus just because, again, there was no big fish. You didn't give yourself a boat anchor contract or something that will just hurt you in the future. I'm perfectly content with free agency.
I think you kind of nailed it on the head, Matt. I'm with you there. I was
actually hold on. I'm changing it. It's back to a C, just flat C. Because I wish we got an NHL defenseman.
There's a lot of people that are right there with you on that one, wishing that we got some kind of defenseman. I am more lower, like C minus territory.
Oh, really?
And because this was a classic JB free agency for me, Matt, where it's, what are we going to do, JB? What can we expect? We're going to be really quiet. We're not going to really do anything. Signs like 6-7 different guys you've never heard of and we're not expecting, and then be rumored to be on this huge big fish that we don't know how it could even happen, but then it doesn't happen. It is a classic JBB free agency that we saw.
Damn lawyers.
Just what we expected from him. But again, I go back to, this is kind of how I felt last year, is that it was fourth line guys that you never really heard of, and like you said, can kind of just plug the spot.
We got Jake Gensel last year, Jake. I know it was a trade, but that was a swing for the fences. Yes, and it worked.
Yes. But I mean, but it was a trade, right? That was a trade at draft. Does that count as free? I guess it technically
it does. It was a free agent signing. We just got to talk to him a little sooner.
With the exception of Jake Gensel, and he was replacing Steven Stamkos that year. I just don't see this as something that's really going to move the needle forward for the Lightning. It's fourth line, just like you said too, right? It's fourth line guys that are maybe could turn into something, but overall are not going to really make a big difference. So I'm with you on C. I hope it does. I hope I'm wrong. I trust in JBB, but I would have rather seen a little bit more aggressiveness, even if it meant signing less guys. And again, this is why we're not NHL GMs and we're sitting here on a show right now talking about this. But
I think criticizing the amount of signings he made too, after, he said, it's not going to be a busy free agency. A lot of them are minor league deals, Jake. So I think you can give them the benefit of the Crunch needs a team. Syracuse needs a team too. So
listen, I'm not saying that he was saying we aren't going to do anything and then didn't do anything. Cause he did a lot. He signed a lot of guys to fill out a roster, but again, I go to the Ford I was talking about from the Oilers Brown, in that I like that's the guy I think I would have liked to see them go after. And then I could have gone for B. By the way, Beverly says we got Geeky too. Yes, we did get that. Geeky was a trade.
Forget about that. Yeah.
Geeky was a trade. He wasn't a free agent signing.
Oh, that's right.
So, but yes, you're right. We did get Geeky last year, but again, it's just I think this team has a lot of great potential. Like last year, you replaced Stamkos with Gensel and it worked. But where's that extra bottom six push that you need in the postseason? And I don't.
Ponus Holmberg, baby.
I hope it works out. I really do. But I still think the Lightning are missing that one spot. And maybe next year, like you said, Matt, is where they can. Let's look really quick before we wrap here. I'm going to go to Puckpedia because I believe the cap is taking a bigger jump next year than it did this year, which kind of surprised me.
And it's already been a big jump this year, despite us still being kind of handcuffed to it. It's going to be a bigger jump.
So next year, Bjorkstrand is a UFA. You are going to have Mitchell Chaffee and Boris Tkachuk. Ryan McDonough is the biggest name.
Ooh.
But McDonough now...
He'll come back way cheaper.
I would imagine he comes back way cheaper because he likes it here in Tampa, didn't want to leave in the first place. He's happy to be back.
He's loved here in Tampa.
I would not be surprised to see McDonough take a cheaper deal. So that I would expect. So, yeah, McDonough's kind of the biggest one, and then maybe Bjorkstrand. I don't know. It kind of depends on the year. You know, that's something else, too, to keep your eye on this season with Bjorkstrand is, like, what kind of year is he going to have? Because he's in a contract year now. So that's keep your eye on. But, again, go back to the cap. Not a lot of guys coming off the books. Definitely some room to work with. I apologize. I'm still learning Puckpedia. I don't know where the heck their cap is. Here it is, cap projections. Yeah, so projected cap space for the Lightning next year is $27 million.
Wow. What?
Yeah. And now that's with McDonough off the books. But if you look at...
He's going to come back at half the price or less.
And even with Bjorkstrand's deal, like I think you end up with like what? Maybe even if re-signing all our guys, like I still think you have like 15, 20 million to work with. Like there's a lot of room next year. And
I've never felt like this before, Jake. I mean, we're still 350 days away, but still, I've never felt like this before in the entire time I've been a fan of this team. I don't know if we've ever had this much cap space. It's
really interesting. So here's the cap. NHL cap limit right now is 95.5. Next year it's 104.
God, jeez.
Yeah. So
right.
there's a big jump again next year, and again, McDonough's the big one, but probably takes a cheaper deal. Then Kucherov comes off the year after. So this year and next year are the two biggest years for the Lightning where they've got and again, I expect
free agency wise.
Right, free agency wise. Next year is probably the biggest year because you still have the core at the current contract. Things are going to shake up, even though Kucherov will come back with the Bolts. The next year is the big year. You're going to have $27 million to work with. That's where you take your swing and really go for the fences. And
you have that much money, and it's not huge names that are on the chopping block. Yeah, Ryan McDonough, but again, like we were just saying, love the situation. The situation loves him.
Like what? McDonough.
How hard is it to find a middle six winger? Yeah, like
4, and I'm spitballing here. 4 or 5?
He could take less, bro. He's 35, 36, 37 next year. Like if he's still playing solid.
Let's be nice and say $4 million, and then Bjorkstrand, who's currently getting paid, I think what 5?
5.5 maybe.
He is. Let's see. Bjorkstrand's making 5.4, and unless he has a crazy breakout year this year, he's probably around the same on a bridge contract. So I mean, that's what $9 million. That leaves you with
a Connor McDavid sized hole.
But no, that really genuinely does leave you with like what 17 million, right around there.
Dude, I'd pay Connor McDavid $17 million.
There's a lot, and now I'm not counting for Mitchell Chaffee will be off the books, Boris
Bye.
Darren Radish.
Bye.
JJ Moser too. You have to get JJ.
Bye, Connor McDavid.
But even still, JJ Moser, you give him a nice little contract. You're still working with like $10+ million. When was the last time, Matt, we had $10+ million in cap space, even after re-signing the 3 big ones there?
Never. And you know what? You know what makes us in pretty good position too for the Connor McDavid sweepstakes is the Panthers. They re-signed all their players. They got Ekblad, they got Bennett back, they got Marchand back. I don't like those deals. I think they paid a little bit too much for a lot of them for a little bit too long of a time. I think, I don't know. I'm me. I don't like the Panthers, but I think those deals are going to age pretty poorly. I'd never. Wow. For the last couple of years, it's like been like, oh wow, the future's been a little dark, but I'm excited for next year.
By the way,
skip this
Eureka said so does everyone else in cap jumps. Okay, yes, Eureka, but listen, let
us have fun.
Okay? When was the last time the Lightning had $10 million in cap space? And we've got the better pitch than everybody else.
Yeah.
No taxes, great weather, and Stanley Cups and jet skis, if you want to throw that in there too. We've got the better pitch than anybody else. So lots to look forward to here for the Tampa Bay Lightning. We'll see what this season holds. I wouldn't be surprised. There's still going to be some trades and moves made by JBB throughout the season, especially with the Isaac Howard situation. By the way, a last comment here from Beverly too. At least these signings are all younger, not mid-30s. Yes, I do agree with that. That's 100% right. That's the biggest difference from last year. And Matt, you said this, that they're younger players and can definitely turn into something. So I do agree with you there. At least here are ray of hope. Yeah, there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Listen, Lightning are a great team. There's a reason they went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals, and there's some excitement to look forward to here. And maybe one of these younger players that we signed this year can turn into something, and who knows what kind of run we can make and do something at the trade deadline. So
Connor McDavid and Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point. I mean, come on. And Jake Gensel.
Could you imagine? Holy cow.
Everyone's talking about, they want to play in these no-tax states. Well, Dallas is going to be in cap hell for a while. Vegas, they just got Marner. Florida, they just locked up all their guys. They're not going to have a Connor McDavid-sized hole. Who else can do it? Seattle, I hate
guess. Are we this delusional, Matt, that we've
Yes. I didn't get to do this last week, Jake.
So David is coming to Tampa.
Yeah, I didn't get to do this for last episode, so this is why I'm gonna have fun with it.
This is why you want to like and subscribe right here on RBLR Sports. Don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. Hit that share button if you did enjoy this episode. It really appreciates out, and we do appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody who was joining us live and tuned in once again. Don't forget to follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning, so you don't miss out when we do go live, and you can check out all the other amazing shows here for Tampa Bay sports teams, and you can stay plugged in. But with that said, that's going to do it for us, guys, in this episode. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.